Welcome back to Equations of a Circle. Today we're doing lesson number 11, which is just day 2 of Equations of a Circle. We're going to look at today when the radius is not given to us, using the same equation that we talked about before to be able to write the equation. So I want you to start by pausing the video, do these two examples here. Once you're done with those two examples, unpause the video and we'll continue on from there. All right, here's your two answers. Go ahead and check those and we will move on. So like I said, today the big difference is when we look at this example here, notice we're using the same equation we used before, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where hk is our center, and then r is our radius. So that has not changed. So if we look at this example down here, it tells us the center is at -1, 2. The point on the circle is at 2, 6. Whenever I graph this, we're going to notice now that I can't just count to find the radius because my radius is at a diagonal. It's from this point to this point. So we don't know exactly what that is. Now, if we look at this, if we drew our circle perfectly, we see we might be able to count here, but it's kind of impossible for us to draw a perfect circle. And so what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to be able to find out what that distance is from the center of our circle to that point on the circle. So we want to find that distance from here to here. Well, what we've done in the past that is going to allow us to do that is using this distance formula. Okay, we've talked about the distance formula, which allows us to find the distance or length from any 2 points. And so just a little reminder, your distance formula is the square root of x squared minus x, or x2 minus x1. So x of one point, x of the other point, squared plus y2 minus y1, again, y of one point minus y of the other point, squared, and then we're going to square root that. So let's go ahead and take that down here and use the distance formula to find the distance from -1, 2 to 2, 6. So we know that distance is the square root. Okay, so again, I don't care what you call what here, so x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to take 2 minus -1 squared plus 6 minus 2 squared. Okay, so we're taking x minus x, y minus y. When I simplify that, I get 2 minus -1, so that becomes 2 plus 1, so I get 3 squared plus 6 minus 2 is 4 squared. So that gives me 9 plus 16, which gives me the square root of 25. So that tells me the distance, well, in our case here, the distance is just the radius equals square root of 25, which is 5. Okay, so the direction said write the equation. So we now have the radius and the center that was given to us at -1, 2. So all we have to do from there is take those two values, radius and center, and put it into our equation. So x plus 1 squared, because it's a -1, plus y minus 2 squared equals the radius squared. So we're going to get x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 25. And so that's going to be our equation of this circle here with center at -1, 2 and a point on the circle at 2, 6. So you just have to find out what that radius is from center to the outside of the circle using distance formula. All right, I want you guys to try another one of those examples, similar type example. You're given the center here, point on the circle here, use distance formula. Once you're done with this example, after you've paused the video, go ahead and unpause it and I'll have the answer on the page. All right, here is your answer. A couple things I want you to notice here. Anytime we square something, so even if I square a negative number or if I square a positive number, it is always going to give us a positive number back out. So you should never have negative answers, negative numbers when you get to this step right here. Second thing, notice I left the radius as just the square root of 10, because when you come back over here and you put the square root of 10 back into your equation, your equation of a circle, when you square the square root of 10, it just gives you 10. It cancels out the square and the square root, and it just gives us that number 10. All right, I want you guys to go ahead and go to lesson number 11, practice.